What if somebody came to your house and took 50% and said, yeah, let's negotiate? You'd be like, no, get the fuck out. And you'd want them to get the fuck out of there.
What if they wanted 50% after the bank reposts my house because I failed to pay my mortgage? Well, at that point, it's not really my house anymore. The Arabs that lived in the Levant didn't own that. It was the Ottoman Empire territory, and the Ottoman Empire had collapsed after World War I. It wasn't all their territory. They didn't buy it. They never paid for it. They didn't have any deeds showing ownership.
Well, it wasn't the Israelis either.
It was AFK landowners.
It didn't belong to the Israelis either.
Land. That's where they moved people.
No, they only own 6%. They only own 6%.
Yeah, and the Arabs only had deeds to show for like 10 or 11%.
Well, they still own more, even if we're going to go off that number.
That's fine, but they didn't own the 100% or whatever that you seem to think that they did.
Well, they were there first. They were there first, Destiny. These colonial guys came from Eastern Europe. Like, it's that simple. Like, it was their house.
They were there.
It was their house.
They lost the war. They lost. Like, if they would have invaded and the territories of the prior caliphates expanded and receded depending upon, how their conquest was going. That's how it worked. And they lost the war. They lost that country. Their rights to the land belonged to the British. It was the British mandate for Palestine, and it was up to the British to decide what they wanted to do with it. They made promises to the Jews. Again, the Arabs lived there too.
Remember, the debate is, it's not about who won the war, who lost the war. I'm not disputing the fact that they lost the war. I'm saying that the Israelis are a bigger obstacle to peace because they gave a bullshit plan, right? Expecting that the Palestinians would take it when they were just a minority and they only own 6% of the land. Why the hell would you agree to something like that? Like,
then
that's
you don't
not
have
even
to agree, but that means you're not that you're still the obstacle to peace. Then put a counter proposal. This is the thing that hurts the Arabs the most, the Palestinians the most. Is there's not a single time in all of history I can at least point to bullshit Jewish plans and say, oh well, look, the Jews would have at least accepted that, even though it's bullshit. The Palestinians cannot point to a single plan where they go, look, we were going to accept that. Look,
I told you Oslo, of course. I told you Oslo was the closest. Oslo was the closest, even though it's bullshit.
Oslo's not a peace plan. It was a framework to move them in that direction.
Yes,
but there are no peace plans that the Jews walked away from that were left on the table by the Palestinians because the Palestinians were always under the delusion that they could expel every single Jew, and they could never do it. By the time they lost like their 12th war, they were like, okay, well, can we go back to like the agreement we had on our 5th war and then go back to that? But by then you're fucked.
Dude, the Israelis are such an obstacle to peace that the Oslo Accords, which was the closest thing, a framework, again, I agree with you. It was a framework towards some type of peace. The Israelis are such an obstacle, they killed one of their own to stop the fucking peace deal.
You say they killed one of their own.
Yes.
Hafez in Syria was worried about being assassinated by one of his own. That's why they didn't even make peace with Israel forever, because they were worried about killing by their own. Sadat had already been killed by their own. The king of Jordan had been killed by a Palestinian in Jerusalem.
We're not talking about these countries. We're talking about Israel.
Hold on.
We're talking about Israel.
Arafat was worried about being killed by one of his own as well. All of these people were worried about being killed by one of their own. It's a fucking hectic region. If you start making peace with your enemies, everybody's worried about getting killed.
Sure.